Preparing for a SAP Basis interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer, followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. Can you explain the SAP three-tier architecture and the role of SAP Basis in it? SAP uses a three-tier architecture: presentation, application, and database. The presentation layer is SAP GUI or browser access. The application layer runs ABAP programs through work processes, and the database stores business data and repository objects. As a Basis administrator, I manage the application layer, connectivity, profiles, users, transports, monitoring, and integration with the database and OS. Understanding this flow helps me isolate whether an issue is front-end, application, network, or database related. While answering, focus on presentation, application, and database layers, how requests flow between them, where Basis administration fits, and why architecture knowledge matters for troubleshooting and scalability. Question 2. What happens during SAP system startup, and which files or processes are involved? During startup, the database must be available first. Then SAP Starts SRV reads the start profile and starts the instance components. For an ABAP system, key processes include the message server, dispatcher, gateway, ICM, and configured work processes. The dispatcher reads instance parameters and initializes dialog, update, enqueue, background, and spool processes. If startup fails, I check dev traces, SAP control output, profile errors, shared memory issues, and database connectivity before restarting anything blindly. Make sure to cover SAP Starts RV, start profiles, instance profiles, message server, dispatcher, gateway, work processes, database dependency, and how you would troubleshoot startup failures. Question 3. What are the different types of SAP work processes and how are they used? Work processes execute user and system tasks in the SAP application server. Dialog handles interactive user requests. Background runs scheduled jobs. Update writes transactional changes asynchronously. enqueue manages logical locks. And spool formats print output. Gateway and message server support communication and load distribution. I always connect this to sizing. Too few dialog processes cause waiting users. Too few background processes delay jobs. And update bottlenecks can slow business postings. In your answer, talk about dialog, background, update, enqueue, spool, gateway, and message server roles, plus how incorrect work process sizing impacts response time and throughput. Question 4. How does the transport management system work in SAP? TMS controls movement of changes across SAP landscapes, usually from development to quality to production. Developers release transport requests, which generate co-files and data files at OS level. Basis configures the transport domain, transport routes, import queues, and approvals in STMS. I check sequencing carefully because dependent objects must move in the right order. For failures, I review import logs, return codes, missing objects, authorization issues, and TP or R3 trans errors. Be sure to mention transport domains, routes, workbench versus customizing requests, co-files and data files, import queues, STMS, sequencing, dependencies, and common transport failure checks. Question 5. What is the difference between local client copy, remote client copy, and client export import? Local client copy copies data within the same SAP system using SCCL. Remote client copy uses RFC with SCC9 to copy from another system directly. Client export import uses SCC8 to export client data to transport files and imports it later, often for larger or controlled movements. I choose based on size, network stability, downtime, and audit requirements. After any copy, I validate users' logical systems, RFCs, number ranges, background jobs, and client-specific configuration. While answering, compare when each method is used, required transactions, performance considerations, profile selection, RFC requirements, downtime impact, and post-copy validation activities. Question 6. A user reports that SAP is very slow. How would you troubleshoot it as a Basis administrator? I first determine whether the issue is user-specific, transaction-specific, or system-wide. Then I check response time in STO3N, active work processes in SM50 or SM66, dumps in ST22, and system logs in SM21. If many processes wait on database, I check expensive SQL and DB health. If users wait for locks, I review SM12. I also check background jobs, CPU, memory, network latency, and recent transports before deciding the root cause. Make sure to cover structured isolation, user-specific versus system-wide, STO3N, SM50, SM66, ST22, SM21, DB checks, network latency, locks, background load, and recent changes. Question 7. How do you perform a SAP kernel upgrade or patching activity? A kernel upgrade must be planned, not treated as a file replacement. I verify SAP notes, OS, and database compatibility, current kernel level, and required patches. Before the change, I take backups of the existing kernel directory and confirm rollback steps. During downtime, I stop SAP, replace kernel executables, set ownership and permissions, then restart using SAP control. Afterward, I validate system startup, work processes, RFCs, dumps, logs, and critical transactions. In your answer, discuss planning, compatibility checks, backup, downloading kernel files, stopping SAP, replacing executables, permission validation, restart, smoke testing, and rollback readiness. Question 8. How would you analyze and resolve a failed background job in SAP? I start in SM37 by checking the job status, step details, job log, and spool output. If it is cancelled, I look for the exact error, ABAP dump, missing variant, authorization issue, locked object, file access problem, or external command failure. ST22 and SM21 often give supporting evidence. I avoid simply restarting jobs without understanding side effects, especially financial or interface jobs. Once fixed, I reschedule, monitor completion, and inform the business owner. Be sure to include SM37 analysis, job logs, spool, ABAP dumps, authorization failures, variant issues, cancelled steps, external commands, and restart or rescheduling decisions. Question 9. What is the spool system in SAP, and how do you troubleshoot printing issues? The SAP spool system manages print requests before they reach the operating system or printer. Users create spool requests, and spool work processes convert them into output requests based on device configuration. For troubleshooting, I check SP01 for request status and error text, SPAD for device settings, access method, host printer, and output server. I also verify spool work processes, authorizations, printer availability, OS level queues, and whether the issue affects one printer or all printers. While answering, cover spool work processes, output requests, access methods, device configuration, SPAD, SP01, host spool, authorization, printer availability, and common error resolution steps. Question 10. What is the enqueue process, and what would you do if users complain about locking issues? The enqueue service manages SAP logical locks, preventing two users or programs from changing the same business object inconsistently. If users report locking issues, I check SM12 for lock entries, owner, transaction, time, and table involved. I do not delete locks casually because they may protect active updates. I first confirm whether the user session is gone, whether an update is stuck, or whether a program holds locks too long. Safe deletion needs business confirmation. Make sure to explain SAP logical locks, enqueue work process, or standalone enqueue server. SM12 checks, stale locks, update delays, root cause analysis, and safe lock deletion practices. Question 11. What are the key steps in a SAP system refresh or homogeneous system copy? A system refresh replaces a target system, often quality, with recent production data. I start with planning, downtime approval, backups, and a clear pre-refresh checklist. Technically, we restore or copy the database, run required SWPM or post-copy steps, adjust profiles, instance settings, and licenses. Post-refresh is critical. Change logical system references, run BDLS if needed, clean RFCs, disable production jobs, adjust interfaces, reset users carefully, and validate core transactions with functional teams. In your answer, talk about planning, backups, database restore, SWPM, profiles, logical system names, RFC cleanup, BDLS, license, jobs, interfaces, and validation checklist. Question 12. How do you troubleshoot RFC connection issues between SAP systems? I troubleshoot RFC issues from both application and connectivity angles. In SM59, I run connection and authorization tests, then check the exact error: logon failure, gateway timeout, program not registered, network unreachable, or SMC problem. I verify target host, system number, gateway service, client, user, password, and authorizations. If needed, I check SMGW, dev RFC traces, firewall rules, user locks, ST22 and SM21. The error category usually points to the next step. Be sure to mention SM59 connection tests, authentication, gateway, network and firewall checks, trusted RFC, SNC, user locks, authorizations, short dumps, and system log analysis. Question 13. What are operation modes in SAP, and why are they useful? Operation modes let Basis dynamically redistribute work processes based on workload patterns. For example, during business hours, I keep more dialogue work processes for users, and at night, I allocate more background processes for batch jobs. They are configured in RZ04 and scheduled through timetable settings. The benefit is better utilization without restarting the instance. I still monitor after switching because poor configuration can starve dialogue users or delay critical background processing. While answering, focus on dynamic work process redistribution, RZ04 configuration, day versus night workloads, background processing, dialogue performance, switching schedules, and monitoring after changes. Question 14. How would you handle a user authorization issue in SAP? For an authorization issue, I first ask the user to reproduce the error and run SU53 immediately. If SU53 is not enough, I use STAUT trace or STO1 to capture failed authorization checks. Then I identify the missing object, field values, and related role in PFCG. I avoid giving broad access just to close the ticket. After role changes, user comparison and buffer refresh may be needed. Good handling balances quick resolution with least privilege security. Make sure to cover SU53, STOUTTrace or ST01, PFCG roles, authorization objects, user comparison, buffer refresh, least privilege, and coordination with security or functional teams. Question 15. What daily SAP Basis checks would you perform in a production system? My daily checks focus on availability, stability, and business continuity. I verify system and instance status, work processes, update records in SM13, dumps in ST22, system logs in SM21, canceled jobs in SM37, locks in SM12, and spool issues in SP01. I also review database health, backup status, disk usage, RFC and interface failures, and performance trends. The goal is to catch small issues before users experience outages or month-end processing failures. In your answer, include proactive monitoring of system availability, work processes, dumps, logs, failed jobs, update records, locks, spool, database, backups, interfaces, performance, and alerts. If you are still with us, congratulations, you are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.